afternoon. Howard Wigg, Code Green, Think Tech Hawaii. Guess who my honorable guests are this afternoon? Lina Smith, CEO, Ernest Shih, CTO of PrimeSpot, as in Prime Parking Spot. This, if you haven't heard of it yet, it's because it's a brand new startup. It's one of the blue startups in Hawaii, which is a major push to bring high-tech businesses to Hawaii. And I believe you're seeing the majority of the membership so far.
Yes.
Of PrimeSpot.
Yes, of
Yes.
PrimeSpot, yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
But
great to be here.
who knows, if I brought you back in a year, what would it be? A cast of, maybe not thousands, but a cast of a
Teeming
dozen?
masses.
Teeming masses, yes, yes.
We'll see. We hope you bring us back, sir.
Yeah, I love success stories and I love to save gasoline. Why am I talking about saving gasoline? Because the aim of PrimeSpot is to get members into parking spaces ASAP, even in congested situations. Now, I've been given a whole bunch of extremely impressive numbers before we get rolling here, just to show what is at stake here in finding easy parking spaces. A typical driver spends 106 days of his or her life looking for a parking space. No wonder we die young. The average motorist spends 2,590 hours of his or her lifetime circling the street looking for parking, whether it be on a school run or in a shopping center. And we can all identify with that. Studies suggest that 30% of traffic is from looking for parking. A UCLA professor showed that up to 75% of the traffic on streets were cruising for parking. On the average, about 30% of the vehicles were still looking for parking. That's a lot of carbon monoxide going into the ozone. The average car gets 20 miles per gallon. Overall, in one parking lot, the gas wasted cruising for 100 spaces would amount to 9,125 wasted gallons of gasoline. So as my honorable 11 viewers know, I'm with the State Energy Office, and our mantra is HCEI, Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative, 100% clean energy for electricity by 2045, and vastly reducing the amount of fuel spent on ground transportation, otherwise known as cars. So you guys are on a very, very important mission. Before we get started on that mission, can one of you tell me how in the world this whole thing got started? What is Blue Startups? And where did the genesis of PrimeSpot come from? You're going to drink, so you're going to speak.
Well, the Lina came up with the idea, and maybe now you can say about how you came up with the idea.
Thank you. So I am from New York City, where I grew up as a teenager, and observed the parking problem firsthand with my father, looking for parking daily.
And let me interrupt.
Multiple times a day.
Well, let me say, I spend a lot of time in New York City. I love it. And we in Honolulu like to pride ourselves as being polite drivers. New Yorkers do not consider themselves polite drivers. I see this incredibly aggressive behavior on the part of New Yorkers scrambling for parking spaces. And somebody will get out of the car and they'll stand in the spot while his or her driver gets there, and he'll shoo away the other cars.
Oh, absolutely.
Aggressive behavior.
Very aggressive.
Yeah.
And then you
Very
fight over
aggressive.
the spot there.
And very inefficient.
Yes, so when you talk about looking for parking spaces, you know wherever you speak, unlike us small town Honolulu folk. Yeah.
Well, Ernest can speak to Honolulu. He's
I've
spent
lived
much
here.
longer here than I have. But in my experience, we can address a lot of issues here in many, many smaller towns than New York, because parking is really almost a universal issue.
Right, and then we got to discussing this issue and decided we wanted to do something about it, and decided the way to go would be a mobile app. With the mobile app, at the same time, we saw there was an application open for Blue Startups. And so, as you know, Blue Startups is one of the top 20 incubators in the nation, if not the world. And so we applied for that, and they interviewed us a couple times and accepted us into the last cohort. We just finished in March or February.
A cohort being, in this case?
A group of 10 companies. We started in September, September 27th, I think it was, and we went through this training where they gave us mentorship, they gave us they invested in our company, and we worked and showed up at the office, and they gave us offices, and they gave us an opportunity to meet with various mentors, technology mentors, business mentors, legal mentors, and we formed a company, a Delaware technology company, and got the ball rolling. So.
And I might say, by way of background, that this is not Ernest's first business in the world. I know him from a previous life, and he ran an extremely successful environmental cleanup
It was
company.
a consulting firm, and I sold it to my partners, and they're still doing very well with it. And I moved on to a more technology-oriented field. So.
Okay, so that sets the background. Now, what in the world is PrimeSpot? It's a technology app that doesn't tell me anything. We need a little detail here.
Well, it's actually...
There it is, there it is.
Great, perfect slide, perfect timing, Howard. Well, so PrimeSpot is a parking solution that includes an app. So what we, just a little bit of a little background, we work with venues, parking owners, operators, so a mall, a college, perhaps a state property such as an airport. And we define the premium spots there, the best spots. Where do people really want to park? Where does it take luck, perhaps waiting, perhaps, you know, we've heard of prayers being said to park in karma, etc.
Parking karma.
Where are those spots? We get those best spots and we brand them as Prime Spots. The signage specifies that these spots are reserved via an app, and we have an app in both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store.
Wow.
Then, the next slide, thank you. The apps are free to download. Oh, one back. And there's currently a map of where the prime spots are, or if you are returning to a venue, we can identify that you're going back to, say, Pearl Ridge Center, and we can say, here is an available prime spot for you. And you would reserve the spot for a specific time, pay, and voila, you have a prime spot.
5 minutes getting there, or?
You book the reservation yourself. You book either 15-minute, half hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. You can book it, and then you're responsible for showing up and taking over that spot. Okay.
And you can book it for as little as 30 minutes, or minimum 1 hour, or?
Minimum is 15 minutes, actually. So it can be very cost effective, even though we're charging you for it. If you need to run in and out, and time is very sensitive for you, say you have to make a quick appointment, or you have screaming kids that are in the car, you know, you can pull in very quickly. These spots are usually right next to the handicap stall, or right in the very front where people, you know, want to park. So
now, what happens if somebody reserves a spot and then doesn't show up?
We still charge them. They've already committed to that spot. We could have sold it to someone else. I mean, there is a way to unreserve it, but it has to be, we haven't set the policy firmly yet, but probably a couple hours before your due time. Otherwise, we're stuck with a spot that could have been sold to someone else.
Well, on that cheery note, believe it or not, it is time already for our first break, and we haven't even hit the tip of the iceberg yet. So,
Wow.
Code Green, Think Tech Hawaii, back in a minute with PrimeSpot.
Hello, I'm Stephen Katz, and I'm the host of Shrink Wrap, which comes to you live every Tuesday at 3 p.m. on thinktechhawaii.com, and then it's repeated again whenever you want if you go to the website. On our show, we will be talking to all different kinds of therapists, psychologists, psychoanalysts, psychiatrists, people who talk about the mind, the brain, and about different ways to find happiness. I myself am a marriage and family therapist in practice here in Hawaii, and I hope you will join us because I've got a lot to learn, you've got a lot to learn, and it's a great ride. Thanks a lot. See you soon.
Aloha, namaskar, and hello. My name is Anu Hittel, and I host the show called Climate Change Beyond Outrage. We go beyond outrage to find solutions to climate problems facing people, nations, and the world. I hope you will join me here every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. We broadcast live from thinktechhawaii.com. Aloha and bye-bye.
Good afternoon one more time. Howard Wigg, Code Green, Think Tech Hawaii, distinguished guests. Lina Smith, CEO, Ernest Shih, CTO of
PrimeSpot.
PrimeSpot. There it is. There
It's
it
on
is.
my seatbelt. Right.
So we're looking. We're reserving a spot for some person. Now, kind of walk us through the process. I see something called value propositions. What's all that about?
Well, okay, I can walk you through that. So the first value proposition, of course, for the parking person is that they get to park in a very good spot very quickly, and they can reserve it ahead of time, reducing that anxiety and you know, because they have a certainty that the spot is waiting for them. So that's the first value proposition for the person who parks. The other value proposition for the venue or the facility that owns the parking spot is they get money for a spot that was not previously free. But if you've walked across vast shopping mall parking lots, you know some spots are much more valuable than others. And so not only do they get money for that spot, they also get higher turnover of that spot, which means that high value spot now, you can allow 4 or 5 or 6 people during the day to use it, rather than just one person who maybe gets there early and hogs it for the whole day.
Yeah, decides to have that extra cup of coffee or whatever.
Or he just is a person who knows the shopping mall and will just park there and leave
Good
at, you know,
good point.
at 5 in the afternoon. There are people like that.
Yeah, not us.
Not us. And I think the other really exciting value proposition for us is that we can offer validation. What I mean by that is these spots are very valuable because they are in the hub of all this activity. Lots of restaurants, lots of stores that people want to go to. So what we offer the stores is that they can pay for the person who's parking, like a validation. So when they pull up, our app will be designed to notify them that validation is available. So now they not only have a PrimeSpot, but they can go to one of these stores, maybe Sephora or Banana Republic or just a nice store, and make a purchase. So their stores have told us that, hey, if they make a purchase, we'll gladly validate. It's not like promotional, it is an actual sale. And along that, we can give stores on our app various pages of couponing. So we're excited about growing that aspect of the app, making it a resource for various high use locations.
You know, this is kind of a substitute for valet parking.
It is. It's self-valet.
Yeah,
It is. It is.
But there's major advantages
There
Two,
are
yeah.
at least 3 advantages to valet parking, in
And
fact.
I bet you're not going to tell me about that, though. Unless you are going to tell me about
If
that.
you'd like to know.
Yes.
Well, first is there's no one else driving your car, which we learned is important to many people.
Yeah,
So they would prefer to park their own car with no stranger getting in and out of a private vehicle.
Especially a young male.
Yeah, who tend to have a heavy foot.
Yes.
Yes.
Number 2, there's no delay getting the car back. So when you leave an event, I'm sure this has happened, there's a whole line of people in front of you all waiting to get their car back from the valet. And the last is there's no tipping. So we would follow the Uber model of in-app payment with no tipping.
Yeah.
Pretty good values. Yeah, the last time I left the Royal Hawaiian, I had to wait easily 15 minutes, easily, because a whole bunch of us were leaving all at once. Yeah.
Also, our Prime Spots will be located at various spots around the mall because people want to go to different stores. They want to go to different locations. Usually, valet it's only in one spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so we can offer access to better spots. Also, we don't block off rows and rows of cars, which tends to get other people angry. We've heard this from mall operators where they say, well, Christmas time we blocked off a whole row, and then the people are driving by, they're complaining because they see row after row after row blocked that they could have parked in. So what we do is we put a couple key spots here by this door, a couple key spots by this door, and keep a lower profile.
What do you do if somebody violates your space?
Good question.
Great question. It really is a great question. And we are aware of other parking startups who were really deterred by this question. We're not. We have a 5-element framework for addressing this question that includes, of course, very clear signage. Our first line of defense is to inform the drivers that these are special spots. In fact, we've been doing that a little too well, and drivers are simply walking past our signs assuming that they can't park there. It's reserved for someone who, and they don't qualify. So we will be branding the ground, there will be branded signage, and so we'll communicate. Well, we have other elements of our framework, for example, of course, working with the venue security. So we would work with the mall, we would work with the airport, with the college, and tap into and collaborate and give them a venue level app that they can then look and see who should be parking on their property. So we are addressing it, and it's a terrific question. We're paying a lot of focus and attention to enforcement.
Yeah, could tweets handle this by any chance?
You mean
like a
notification back
security
to us?
guard, yeah, tweeting, hey, there's somebody in your spot who had you.
The third element of it is that in-app monitoring, where if you pull up and someone's taking your spot, you notify us in the app. And then we will give you a credit, of course. We'll get instant notice of what the plate is. And we want them to upload a photo through their mobile device. And then we also will give them an alternative spot, an overflow spot that we'll have for them to park into. Please take the spot. We'll give you some credit for it. And then where we get our enforcement towing or ticketing action immediately responding to that car.
And you know, this is such a hot topic that we have a question up there from High-Living 808.
Okay.
What is it?
When reserving a spot for an event, are these spots paid parking or is free street parking available too? Right now, our app is not for events. We're thinking about event parking, but these are permanent spots that we have negotiated with the very venues to have control over. So they'll always be prime spots. And they'll always be paid for.
And you know, when we're talking about this, maybe it's unique to Hawaiian culture, but there is a certain element of our culture that absolutely, positively must have a prime spot. And they will pull their car over, put on the hazard lights or whatever, and either partially or largely block lanes because somebody is coming out of somewhere and it looks like they may get into a car where they want.
Sure.
And now watch this, and then if it's typical, especially what if these are people with a little baby, and they spend 10 minutes strapping the baby in, and the waiting car is just waiting, waiting. A lot of people put huge emphasis on their PrimeSpot to the detriment of a lot of the rest of us. I'm sure we've all experienced this.
Oh yeah, I know one spot the post office, when you turn left on Pensacola, they blocked the driveway, they even blocked the road trying to line up to get one of the few spots at the post office, and that's just creates a traffic hazard.
That's right, because in that case, there's parking right across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, can't do that.
May I help answer
sure.
a little bit further the question of Hawaii living? Are these spots paid parking, or is free street parking available too? So the long-term vision of PrimeSpot is to have both paid parking on top of which we put a premium for the convenience of reserving and knowing that you have a spot. However, free street parking, on street parking is a real potential, because as anywhere else, some spots on the street are better than others. And the city and the state could be generating additional income on those premium prime spots.
Good answer.
But there will be always free parking, you know, in various parts in the city. I mean, that's part of the city's plan.
Sure.
But we can work with them to designate some of them for PrimeSpot.
Yes, some of them.
And I'm just thinking, I mentioned babies. Another prime customer might be young couples with little babies or little kids. You don't want to navigate them through all these congested parking spaces and all that, with cars kind of being unaccountable.
Absolutely, and as Ernest was saying earlier, the app could provide a gateway to the venue with information about the stores you may be looking for something for your child. You can just navigate on your app, or a restroom, or any event tied to the property. So this becomes a gateway to the venue, and so a venue does not need to have its own app standalone.
Yeah, also in regards to the venue, there's been some specialized parking inflation going on. You'll have like electric charging spots. Right next to it, you have handicap spots. Right next to it, you have electric vehicles only. Right next to that, handicap, I said handicap, but they're talking about mothers, you know, nursing mothers or stroller moms. And so there's a lot of the parking's given up, but we can capture a wide umbrella of people, not the handicap, because that's by law, but all the other categories, we can capture that as an allowable, subsidized or free parking by the facility through the PrimeSpot app. So that allows us to be an umbrella app for various kinds of employee of the month or whatever they want to do.
Any qualified user of the spot.
Right, so that would be a third-party payer. Like validation, but validation is after you park. This is pre-validation, so we allow different categories of people. One thing that would be super interesting would be like a luxury brand, and we have a parking spot right in front. They could pre-validate and reserve a spot for a VIP customer before they even come, and say, just park here.
Who is this? Who you envision as your prime demographic? Luxury people, or who are you after? Who are you targeting?
Well, I think if you take advantage of validation for your meal or for your purchases, it could be any person who knows how to use the technology, because now you get it validated, you don't pay a thing. But it could be for people who are very busy. Obviously, you need to have money to pay. You need to have a credit card. So, but it can. I think our demographic is very broad.
Very broad.
Yeah.
Very broad, very wide. You know, some specific examples could be a family over Christmas, just picking up a package, wrapping a package, or just quick errand, half an hour to the mall. So validating their parking, so PrimeSpot for free, or someone picking up a grandma at the airport, so would want a spot that is convenient for her to access. So it really is a range of situations.
Yeah, you know, you're mentioning the airport, and who among us has not, when we're flying Neighbor Island, even we think we're arriving really early, 5:15 in the morning. Empty spots, right? Wrong.
You can't find it in that inter-island terminal. That's really hard.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of times you want to pick someone curbside that's arriving. Say it's grandma and she's got a lot of gifts, a lot of baggage, but she has a hard time getting curbside, and you get pushed by the security to go around and around and around. So in this case, we can have a PrimeSpot, you know, to park, for them to park really close, go and fetch grandma and bring all the suitcases back. And
right across the stoplight.
That would be
and
ideal.
Then boom, there's the spot.
Airport people, if you give us that, we can make good use of it.
Thank you. Thank you, Howard.
Yeah, when I get picked up from the airport, my friend likes to come early. She's one of these early people. And I swear we have to walk 10, 12 minutes to get from baggage claim to some remote spot of parking.
Yeah.
Sounds very familiar.
Plus the extra time trying to find where you parked the car.
Yeah. I've been lost in that airport. So another demographic that occurs to me are the people who are upper income. They've got a decent amount of money, but they're always in a hurry. The reason they've got a decent amount of money is they're meeting people all the time, one meeting after another, and they just can't waste time. Time is money for them, even off time. Yeah.
Right. That is a natural. One other demographic are at universities and colleges. They have visitor parking lots. We just recently talked to HCC about this, and that lot is always filled because there's no control of it. As a matter of fact, when we went to talk to them, they had to cone off spots for us to use. So we proposed to them, we haven't heard back from them yet, that we put some PrimeSpots in. Now they control these spots. There's high turnover, and they can pre-reserve it for their VIP visitors. Say they have a monthly meeting with administrators. They can pre-reserve it, and these people can just park there.
Or visiting speakers.
You just basically control, visiting speakers, you control that spot more precisely because now you have it on an hourly minute basis with the app.
Good point. I'm sometimes asked to speak at UH Manoa or at HCC too, and I actually got a ticket once. I thought I was just going to dash in, dash out. Nope, there's my ticket.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah,
because you didn't have the right permit.
Serving the,
Wow.
Yeah. And on that very, very cheery note, believe it or not, it's time for our next break, and we're still just getting warmed up. Think Tech Hawaii Code Green. Back in a moment.
Aloha, this is Reg Baker, and I am the host of Business in Hawaii. We talk about positive stories of businesses in Hawaii, how they have been successful, and how they have overcome some of the obstacles that a lot of us encounter when we try to have a business here. And believe it or not, there are a number of positive stories here, and we want to talk to all of you. So we broadcast live every Thursday at 2 o'clock, and it rebroadcasts again on Olelo Channel 54. So I sure hope to see you next time. Please tune in on Thursdays at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Aloha! How you doing? It's me, Angus McTech, wishing you to welcome and join us to see us on Hibachi Talk on Think Tech Hawaii. Join my co-hosts, Gordo the Tech Czar and Andrew the Security Guy, every Friday from 1300 to 1345. We look forward to seeing you. We'll talk tech and we'll have some wee bit of fun. And remember, let your wing gang free wherever you be. Aloha!
No.
Think Tech Hawaii, Howard Wig, Code Green. My honorable guests are Lina Smith and Ernest Shih of PrimeSpot Parking, a whole new concept, at least new to me, taking advantage of the electronic age and the fact that especially in a congested city like Honolulu, parking spaces are at a premium. What if you don't have all that much time? What if you have little kids? What if you have an old, frail person you're taking around? All kinds of potential applications for this. And I get the feeling you've barely really scraped the surface on looking for good applications.
Right. Well, the key is for us to get it in play in different locations, and get the reaction from different parkers. So we're just scratching the surface this year. So it'll be exciting for us to see where it takes us.
Yeah. And you mentioned HCC, Honolulu Community College. Once a year, I go out there on a Saturday. Saturday. Government doesn't work on Saturdays. Well, HCC works on Saturday.
Right.
And I can't get a close-up parking space. I'm way over in the boondocks.
Right, and as a speaker or as a short-term visitor, you should be able to come in there and find a spot because you don't occupy much of the lot.
Yeah.
So that could be shared amongst 10 people like you in and out quickly. So that's one of our goals, is to optimize those valuable spots.
Good point. And I'm serving the university or the community college by sharing my vast knowledge and expertise here. And the least they can do is give me a decent parking spot.
Yes, and also not give you a ticket.
Right.
Yeah, the way we handle it now at Manoa is whoever wants me has to go through this big deal to get a parking permit. And then I have to go somewhere, pick it up, go back down to my car and put it on my dash and then reverse it and return it at the end. Kind of a hassle, yeah.
Yes.
So, market size, you think this is a scalable? Oh my goodness, what do we have? A magic slide here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you know, Blue Startup selects scalable companies. That's a requirement, and PrimeSpot is a very good fit for a scalable technology company because, well, we've looked at the basic assumptions of our model, and this is in fact the addressable size in the United States alone is $2.6 billion. We can go into the details of these numbers, but we are we're very confident that this is a scalable business with a very large market size globally.
As you say large, do you know that Ernest is bilingual?
I speak a few languages, but we do want to go overseas for sure.
Yes,
and
sir.
I mean, everywhere there's parking. Everywhere there are cars, there are parking problems.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the whole coastal region of China, which is rapidly becoming a first world country unto itself. And apparently the traffic problems and the parking problems, they haven't figured these things out yet. It's just bursting on the scene. And you see these images of 8-lane highways that are accidental parking lots.
I've seen those.
People are just sitting there.
Huge traffic jams.
Yeah. So can you imagine the value of a parking space in that type of a situation?
Well, our rollout plan is, first of all, learn from Honolulu.
Yes.
Honolulu has a variety of things. We live here, so we can learn from it. And then we'll take that and develop a playbook and take it to different markets. We have some investors that are from Houston, so Houston might be an early investment, early market for us. And then, of course, San Francisco is the mecca of high-tech businesses, and we have to show a presence there just to attract the next level of funding and just to show that other people give notice that we're there and we've got this technology that otherwise
Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And of course, we will take it all the way to New York because I hope my dad gets to use the app as well.
And another way we can grow is through relationships. Like, for example, we talked to one mall, and they have 100 malls throughout the nation. And that mall we've talked to, they also have an office where they're seeking new technologies and see how they can play. So if we work with a local mall here, and it works out very well, they get the credit for bringing it to their national meeting and say, hey, we got this technology that Honolulu developed, and if it plays well, then we could talk to the national level, and they may want us to deploy throughout a scattering of their property. So that would be kind of like via one customer or one group.
One partnership.
Yeah.
One partnership.
Speaking of which, we should back up. We started with the word scalable. Maybe everybody doesn't know the definition of scalable. Who's the better linguist here?
Well, I can explain. Scalable is a technology that can grow easily by the nature of it. Of course, when something is in your mobile device, and we have access to the whole world basically through our GPS and through the internet, and through the stores, then it's very scalable. The only thing that holds us back is that we have to develop markets. We have to have physical spots. So we're different from, say, an Instagram, where you don't need a physical location. We have to have a physical location. So we have to scale it by market, where we can have people who are selling that technology at that market. But it applies the same. We don't really need, with our app, to change it much to get 1 million people versus 1,000 people. It's the same cost, very, very little change in cost for our technology. It's just getting the spots.
And since you have such an original mind, or two or very original minds, absolutely nobody else has thought of this, and you're just running free with no competition, is that the case?
At this time, this is a blue ocean. There are other, of course, there are people trying to solve this problem, and that's why we are trying to solve it. But so far, this is a fairly blue ocean, and it will, you know.
There's a slide.
There's a slide. So we're better than other parking apps because these are the premium spots. These are where you want to be at the front, where you're going, and. And we do also have a patent pending, so we do have a bit of a head start, I would say.
There are a lot of parking apps that you can find. Most of them fall in two categories. One category is just basically you want to go to a certain area, they'll give you a database of different things that pop up, kind of like an Airbnb, where, oh, this will be $15, this will be $12, these spots are available. So it's like a database app, which is very useful for a lot of people. There's other types of apps which are for events, or for paying your meter, or renewing your meter. These apps are basically you're already parked at a spot, and you go on the app to pay more or to stay. But ours is unique because we're location, and we're looking for the best spots. It's not all the spots; it's just the best spots. And then the other unique feature is having the validation portion of it. We've never heard of anyone do it, although once they hear about this, they may be able to incorporate it. So we got to be fast.
We have to execute.
Yes.
We have to execute.
Lina, you've mentioned a couple of times blue ocean. We all know what a blue ocean is. We're surrounded by blue oceans, but I think you mean have a slightly different definition here.
Well, in this context, blue ocean, I meant, is an opportunity to have a market where we are creating the supply of these prime spots, and we're creating a demand that has existed before, but now we have a product and we have a differentiation. We have an asset that is now differentiated by best spots versus non-prime spots. And so the blue ocean, I believe they do invariably turn red because the competitors do come in, and we're not, we do know that there will be competition, and we hope there is, because that means it's a viable market with a lot of potential. But at this point, we believe this is a blue, at least a blue puddle for now, a blue, perhaps one day an ocean.
That's the way to think, because you're supposed to be scaling this thing.
So that's right.
Another correlation that occurred to me is I've been meaning, Ernest, to introduce you to a luxury gym that I belong to. Ernest loves luxury.
Oh, okay. Luxury
and
gym.
You can either reserve a locker or just get a locker, and they're luxurious lockers. But some guys in the male locker room choose to reserve their own locker, and it's just a standard size, classy but standard size. They pay $59 a month just for their own locker. That's more than most gyms charge. But these people, they just like the comfort of it. They've got the money for it, and it saves them a little bit of time. So you could be attracting that kind of demographic too. They like the prestige. Say they eat in a certain restaurant, I'll take their clients to a certain restaurant. Oh, boom, boom, boom. No. What kind of parking space is this? This is my parking space. Wow, right in front of the restaurant. That's correct. Now get out, Mr. Smith. Let's enjoy some food here. Now, is that a good
That's
envision?
perfect. We
Yeah.
could not have said it better ourselves.
As a matter of fact, going down the line in the future, we're thinking of employing technologies that are interactive at our spots that can announce that you're coming, or that can detect the vehicle that's there, and that you can interact with to find location information about the hub that you're at. So these are too early for us to deploy right now, because we have to get the basic concept working and get funding for that. But we are working on these ideas. Yeah.
Well, we've got to close pretty quickly, but one of my specialties is street lighting. Both the city and the state are converting to LED street lights, and my push is to get really, really sophisticated street lights up there. Sophisticated street lights? What in the world are you talking about? Number one, they could be dimmable. After a certain hour, you could shift to 50% illumination, or they could be equipped with sensors. After a certain hour, the lights are off until a car comes, boom, they go on. They are in certain high crime areas installing street lights that can distinguish the sound of gunfire from all other sounds. And the alert goes to the police, all kinds of things. So I'm thinking, your app is just kind of tailor-made. Lord knows what sort of services you might be providing that you haven't even thought of yet.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of potential with this technology.
Because if you think about it, once we get fairly saturated, we have distributed points throughout the city that are at high value parking locations. So what comes with it? High value, merchants and restaurants around it. We could be the one go-to app to find out what things are happening at the various malls, because malls generally try to make their own apps, but no one wants to download a mall app just for that mall. But if we have one app that can go to all the malls or all the restaurants or all the colleges, then that becomes an app that's very useful beyond just parking. But the parking would be the killer app part of it,
Wow. On that cheery note, we have to close, but let me say that in Times Square, I mentioned streetlights. There are streetlights in Times Square that will talk to tourists and guide them.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a great idea.
I think your little device may be, what's a good restaurant? Oh, there's a restaurant.
That's not a bad idea.
That's a great idea. Thank you. Thank you.
If we employ that, we'll call it the Howard feature.
There you go. There we go. Yeah. And you've got about 15 seconds. Any super wise words to close with?
We would love to thank you for having us on the show, and thank you, Think Tech. We are delighted to be here. We could not have been here without Blue Startups.
Right.
And the startup paradise. Thank you.
If you see this logo, try and download it on your app and park in that spot.
Yes.
And try it. We're giving 2 hours free parking for every new sign up.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And that very cheery note, this is Think Tech Hawaii, Code Green, Howard Wig. See you next time. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it.